Hello everyone, it is Joe here from OmniPoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon, and today we're going to be looking at Rukan Xiao's second place Philadelphia Malamar list. Some interesting cards in here like Friend Ball, Marshadow, and some interesting counts as well from traditional lists, which has really set this one apart from the rest and looks to be a good indicator going forward into how the deck is going to be built. So I'll be going through the card decisions and stuff like that, and then going over a few games as per usual. So first of all, a 4-4 line of Malamar. Psychic recharges the entire crutch of the deck. It allows you to attach a Psychic Energy from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon each turn. So the idea is to use some more expensive attackers here. We have a lot of discard in the deck with 4 Ultra Ball, 4 Treasure, 4 Acrobikes to get these Psychics in the bin, so then Malamar can attach them turn by turn, and as our Pokemon get knocked out, or some of our Pokemon like Necrozma-GX remove energies from himself from his own attacks, we're going to be able to reset these and always have attackers prepared in the back. So that's really the idea of the deck, and we're going to partner this with a mixture of GXs and non-GXs according to your needs, really. It feels like Malamar now has become the sort of toolbox style deck. You can see we're playing a lot of low counts of attackers, and it's really going to be because of the importance of Shrine in the meta right now. You need to have enough non-GXs in the deck. Because of Zoroark, you need to have a couple Marshadows, and you just need to have powerful Psychic one-hit KO stuff. So you still need a few of the GXs in here as well. So it really is a mishmash of different attackers for the right matchup. So it really does give this deck a lot of options to get creative in different spots. So that's something to bear in mind. Let's have a look at some of these attackers. I guess we'll start with Marshadow just because it can copy all the other attackers that I'm talking about in a moment. We're literally just using it because of the Shadow Hunt ability, allowing us to use the attacks of any basic Pokemon in our discard pile. And it has this little fighting symbol in the top right corner, which means we're going to hit Zoroarks for weakness. So we have good one-hit KO potential against Zoro decks. Going to be really important to try and race against those, and Marshadow allows that to be the case. That's why we're going to be playing 2 copies. From there, let's look at some of the GX attackers. Necrozma-GX, 180 hit point Psychic type. It is weak to Psychic, so if Malamar becomes more prevalent, it's something that you basically can't play. Down, at least. You can't put it on your board. And it's also weak to Garbodor, so it's definitely concerning to play this card, but it does have a nice little free ability. Prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from colorless Pokemon. There aren't a huge amount in the format right now. Think about things like Drampa. That's really all that come to mind. A Prismatic Burst does 10, and you discard all Psychic from this Pokemon, and it does 60 more for each you discarded in this way. So the cost is 3 colorless. That goes to 190 if you're discarding just the 3, but if you put another energy on this guy, you're going to be one-shotting pretty much everything, so that's good to know. And Black-Ray GX does provide a decent option here as well. You can do 100 to each of your opponent's Pokemon GX and EX. That can set up the sometimes 2-hit KO style attackers that we have elsewhere in the deck as well, so that's something to bear in mind. We're not playing the Psychic Lele, which would move around all those damage counters, but that's something that you could consider as another potential attacker. I'm going to play 1 copy of Dawnwing's Necrozma. This is lower than traditionally. Sometimes you see 2 counts, but I think it's respecting Zoroark right now. Just because it has a ×2 weakness means it's pretty awkward. And this was also really good when Buzzrock was very, very prevalent because of this fighting resistance of being able to one-hit KO the Buzz GXs. Buzzrock hasn't completely fallen off the radar, but it's more traditionally just baby Buzzwole variants now for the fighting stuff. And we don't have any bounces to Shrine in this build, so even though it does resist fighting, and yes, it one-hit KOs baby Buzzes and Garbodors, but because it'll get damaged by Shrine so much, it's still somewhat of a liability in that matchup, so do bear that in mind. Also, there's a lot of Weavile going into even the Buzz Garb lists, so this Dark weakness is also an issue. So just the 1 copy, but in the right matchups, it's going to provide a lot of good help for you because it does have the Invasion ability. Once during a turn, if this Pokemon is on your bench, you may switch it with your active. This can really help pivot things alongside Guzma if you want to get your active back into the active in that same turn by going Invasion into Guzma. It also just lets you move whatever was active to the bench so you can do all your Malamar recharging, and even paying retreat on the Dawnwings isn't the biggest deal if you can just reattach with Malamar anyway, so that's something to note. Its 2 attacks are good. Dark Flash gets through resist and does nice 120, and Moon's Eclipse GX is a real big factor here for allowing us to keep in the race against some of the more aggressive decks out there right now. that do get one-hit KOs, things like Ultra Necrozma and also things like Rayquaza-GX, because you can do 180 only if you're behind, but then prevent all effects of attacks, including damage done to this Pokemon during your opponent's next turn. So you force a Guzma, and if this is your only GX in play, then you force them into an odd prize game as well. So that can really help you out a lot in a racing situation against some of the slightly more aggressive decks out there. So Whimsiclips is a great option to have as a one-off here. The only other GX we're going to play is one copy of Tapu Lele. We have so much search for Lele. We have 8 Ball Search cards, which can guarantee you a Lele. And if you're up against any other Psychic deck or any other deck that's already played their own Lele down, those Friend Balls that we play can also search this card out as well. So Wonder Tag is going to help us get into some nice supporter cards. Only the one copy. It is sort of complemented by the double Rescue Stretcher. The only downside is potential prizing of this guy. But again, I think it's Rukan's decision to have as few GXs in the list as possible so that he doesn't just lose to Shrine builds. So it's really a reflection of the meta rather than not wanting to play a lot of Leles. But just only needing one makes this deck a little bit more budget, so bear that in mind. From there, we're going to play 2 copies of Deoxys. This is one of the best non-GX attackers that we can be playing. Psychic does 20 plus 20 times the amount of energy attached to your opponent's active, which is just 2 energy requirement. It really doesn't require much. If you just happen to lead your Deoxys, you can attach turn 1 and 2 and start swinging, and then also you're using Malamars in the back to power other stuff up, so this is good for setting up KOs. Obviously, it's again a Psychic type, so it can hit things like Buzzwole-GX if they are still in the format for a lot of damage. And Power Blast does, for Psychic Colorless, 120, and you discard an energy from this Pokemon. You don't care about the discard, because you can just reattach with Malamars and stuff, or just your turn attachments if it doesn't get knocked out. And again, it just is a perfect answer to these Garb Shrine decks, or Buzz Shrine decks, I should say, and other Shrine decks in general, things like OHKO. Pretty much every non-GX falls to this Deoxys, which is really good. Also going to play one Mimikyu. It offers the Filch attack, which allows you to draw cards in a pinch, which is nice. And it also has Copycat. If your opponent's Pokemon using an attack that isn't a GX attack during their last turn, you can use it. So we can copy some big one-hit KO style attacks as long as they're not GX ones. And that's going to be really awesome for you, so do bear that in mind. This can be a nice 2-for-1 prize trade Pokemon just for that one Psychic, one colorless attachment. The one other Pokemon we're playing in here is not for its attacking potential, despite being a Psychic type. It's more for its ability Let Loose. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you may have each player shuffle their hand and draw 4 cards each. So it's a Judge-style effect. Just like I said with the Tapu Lele, we have so much search for this guy. It's going to be a really good card to use again against Vicaray. So I think with the Dawnwings GX attack being able to pull us back into the game if they do high roll, and also the fact that we can find Marshadow and try and disrupt these sorts of big setup decks, it's going to give you good options against them. So I think this Let Loose is brilliant against every Stage 2 deck out there. The Magnazones, the Metagrosses, the Vicarays, the Vicabulus, the Gardevoirs, all those sorts of things. You're going to try and let loose them and deny their setup straight away, and hope that our own consistency with so many Ball Search cards, Acrobikes, and still 8 powerful supporter cards can keep us in the game. So that's pretty much the intention of this guy. I've thought about playing this and Judge or a Split or one or the other. I really dislike putting Marshadow on the board because you want to have as many Malamars as possible, but the fact is there's just some really big high roller Stage 2 decks right now that you need to counter, and Marshadow being so searchable is probably the best option for you. Onto the items now. We're going to play 2 copies of Rescue Stretcher. I've already mentioned that we only play like 1 or 2 of our most important stuff, so recovering the right attackers in the right matchups is going to be great for you. Friend Ball allows you to search your deck for a Pokemon with the same type as one of your opponent's Pokemon in play, reveal it and put it into your hand. Really interesting card. I think it is most universal with the Psychic type because everyone naturally is playing Tapu Lele. Even the Shrine decks that don't play Lele, they're playing Garbodor, which itself is a Psychic type. So it really does just give you more search in the deck for your Malamars and Inkays. These are the most important things, as well as your additional attackers in the right matchups. So it's a bit of supplementary search because the deck works entirely off the board. As long as you have your Malamars going, you're feeling good. So all you want to do is find those in multiple counts as soon as possible. Bear in mind as well, there are a few fighting decks out there. You can even get the get the Marshadow out. Even if you're just going to use it for extra thinning for you, you can get the Marshadow to hand and then treasure or Ultra Ball it straight away again. So it's additional thinning for the deck as well, which is also very cool. Then we are going to play the 4 Treasure. For Ultra Ball, Treasure gets everything that isn't Marshadow. Ultra Ball gets everything, but is 2 discards. Both going to be very good for getting Psychics in the bin and thinning the attackers that we don't need in the certain matchups, and even attackers that we do want in the matchup, because we can copy it with Marshadow, so bear that in mind also. 4 copies of Acro, same thing as the balls really. You're going to try and cycle through your deck as much as possible, whilst also hoping to hit things like Psychic Energy for the discard pile to get multiple recharges going as soon as possible, which is great for you. Onto the supporter counts. I really like the simplicity. 4 copies of Lily gets a lot of value in this list specifically because we have so many thinning tools with the 8 ball search cards, which naturally lower our hand size, and the fact that we have so many insta-plays within the deck, only having 4 stage 1s, everything else being insta-playable basics. Even the tools are all insta-play, so really, really nice to get large hand sizes off these Lilies, which really get us going. 4 Cynthias as well for some additional shuffle draw throughout the game. And 4 copies of Guzma to make sure we're hitting the most important and best targets on our opponent's side of the field to be as disruptive as possible and to help us win the game. 4 copies of Escape Board is a really interesting introduction to this deck. It used to be very reliant on Floatstone, of course. Escape Board is trying to be the same card, and it is the same card in every situation except when attached to a regular Necrozma-GX and a Dawnwings Necrozma-GX. Dawnwings used to be your best pivot in the deck. Now it's one of the chunkiest ones. Everything else has a 1 retreat cost. So the Escape Board best on everything that isn't that. So as long as you don't lead your Dawnwings and your Necrozma-GX, these are going to really help us for pivoting. Also can protect our Inkays from early Buzzwole pressure if they have Diancie or Beast Energy or Diancie Kukui, these sorts of things. You can try and protect them as best as possible. Or even if you just go second against like Zoroark decks, you can just Escape Board out into something else less important so that you can protect your Inkays. Additionally, it means that you can get filching consistently, to be honest. If you want to search out a Mimikyu just because you have no supporter and you need cards, you can Escape Board whatever you start with and just filch for a couple more on your turn. So overall, that is going to be the deck with just 10 Psych Energy to round it out, which doesn't surprise anyone, really. There are a few different Pokemon that we could be playing in here. One card that I'm always going to be a fan of is going to be the Oranguru with Instruct. I think because we are using the Let Loose Marshadow, it doesn't make much sense to also play Oranguru because you'll end up filling your bench with too many Pokemon that aren't named Malamar. So I think it's the state of the meta right now that you're reliant on Let Loose in a few matchups to disrupt people, that you can't really play the Oranguru, although it does offer a decent attacking threat as well as a means of topping up your hand size here and there. And this deck is one of the best at lowering its hand size, so I wouldn't argue with you if you were going to put the Oranguru in here. There's also a couple things like Shining Lugia, which has been creeping into some lists right now just because it has, again, this nice fighting resist and can hit this nice baseline of 130 or 120 if stuff has an ability. I think the fact that lots of Zoroark players are now playing Stadium to hit 130, the Shining Lugia's tank ability has plummeted, really, and that's made it pretty much just less usable than Deoxys. And if we are up against Zoroark players, we're just going to try and Marshadow them out, so I think that's the idea here. But if you are really still concerned about the Buzz decks, you can try squeezing in Shining Lugia as an additional non-GX threat for you. So yeah, that is going to be it for Pokemon. I think for trainers and stuff, I think Escape Rope is an additional option. Maybe cutting some of the Escape Boards down and playing ropes instead. Obviously, these aren't insta-play, so there is that downside. But if the mirror is becoming a thing, this is a card you're definitely going to have to keep an eye on because of the Dawnwings GX attack can be really frustrating for you, and having more outs than just Guzma is going to be really good for you. It even means that you can rope Guzma in the same turn and deal with that Dawnwings. So that's something to bear in mind. If you're expecting more mirrors now, since it did get second place, a rope wouldn't be a bad addition or substitution for Escape Boards if you're not convinced by them. In a similar regard, we could be playing a split of Escape Boards and the Stadium that most people went for, which was Altar of the Moon. Altar of the Moon was in some initial lists. You have to attach a Psych Energy, but it does have that reduction of 2 energy in the retreat cost, so it does mean that Dawnwings becomes the perfect pivot once again, and it's good for your Necrozma-GX. So I think at the moment there's a slight weakness in this deck that if you do happen to lead Dawnwings or Necrozma-GX, the escape board isn't doing enough for you. You still need to pretty much Guzma on turn 2, otherwise you're not attacking, which sucks. So I think, or you need to get like a lot of Malamars, still escape board, and manually attach to the active once. Like, it's a lot of pieces to ask for. If you play a split of escape boards and alters, it gives you an option for kind of both and covers the weakness of starting one of those GX Pokemon. So do bear that in mind. I think from there, I've already mentioned Judge as a potential supporter card for you. Use these if you think you want to up to like 2 Lele and you're not convinced by the Marshadow. This can save you bench space at times, but at the same time, if you need to search it via Lele, it's not really any better than just using a Marshadow on its own. So I think that's going to be it. I may as well just mention Choice Band as well. It's always an option to keep in mind for one-hit KOing certain things. I've actually just remembered another card that we could be considering, and that's the Mewtwo GX. It's another way of getting around the Dorming Necrozma's GX attack. So again, if this is a mirror-centric card, it might be one you want. You actually don't want to put it into play a lot of the time. You want it in the discard pile to copy with Marshadow a lot of the time. It's actually very good against Zoroark for early Marshadow pressure. If you get this in the discard, you just need one attachment on your Marshadow to be one-hit KOing Zoruas, and that puts a lot of pressure on them, so that could be a cool card. Again, it even helps out in the Zoroark matchups. It does mean that we promote Marshadow very early, and you're not always getting 2-hit KOs, but stifling their setup is another way to beat Zoroark in this day and age. So, yeah, let's jump into the ladder and see how this very successful... Oh, it's a new ladder. This very successful Malamar list does for us. So, we are going to... We're already on a win streak as well. This is incredible. Let's see what we're up against. Gonna flip the coin. We get to go first. Always happy to go first when you're playing a deck that evolves, especially because it is our engine in here as well. We're gonna mulligan away. Pretty nice hand. Because, of course, we need some Pokemon. Pretty much that is your objective every turn 1, just to see as many Inkays as you can, whilst getting as many Psychics in the bin as possible, and having manual attachments on top. We lead with a Mimikyu here. Not the best of starts for us. You always want to lead with a non-GX if you can. You don't just want to throw down GXs because of how the meta is at the moment. Looks like we're up against an Empoleon Swampert deck. That deck does prey on the amount of Pokemon that you bench, but we can't play around the fact that we need to bench a bunch of things, so I think I'm going to be attaching and going for a Let Loose here. I don't know if I want to play down the Necrozma-GX. I don't think we need it in this matchup. The Lily is for a low amount of cards, which I'm not too happy with. We could Cynthia first and try and guarantee more Ball Search cards, but we can also, because we have so many Ball Search cards and so many supporters, we can Let Loose into a higher count of Lily or a better Cynthia, so I'm going to Let Loose from the off. We're also trying to disrupt this Stage 2 deck. So that's what we're going to go for. It's a little on the riskier side, but as you see, we have a lot of supporter cards and a lot of Ball Search cards, so we get away with it in this instance. I don't think I'm going to play down any Marshadow. We don't get the type advantage from it, even though it could be an attacker we start trying to put into play. But we do end up finding some basics here. We're going to treasure away this. We're going to grab ourselves one Inkay. And I think we're going to need this Ultra Ball for something else next turn, so we'll probably just end it here. Don't want to pay retreat. Let's see how they did off the Let Loose. They have a Mudkip. Definitely an important piece for their deck because they need the Swampert to help get them going. We draw into another Inkay, which is nice. I think I'm going to be discarding one of our escape boards here. I don't know if I want to discard a Deoxys and keep this. I think I want to keep the Dawnwings. And we'll Ultra Ball. Grab ourselves our one Lele. And we're going to Lily for a fresh 6 cards here. We're probably going to end our turn by going for a Filch, because I don't think we want to copycat a Peck. So it's really, if we can hit some more energies, it's going to be the ideal here. No Malamars, but we do hit at least an energy. And we will end the turn just filching for a couple more. This is where we'll see the big picture, whether or not they have properly dead drawn. Last turn they just used a Mudkip. Looks like Lily was their top deck, otherwise they would have used it last turn. They do have a Marsh Tomp. We currently can't Guzma. They're going to grab Ultra Ball. If they grab a Lele here, it's going to be good for our Friend Ball. Looks like they're just grabbing a Alolan Vulpix. And they're going to Beacon. Looking for Swampert, no doubt, and probably Prinplup or Empoleon. Yep, the 2 stage 2s. So at the moment, we have no Psychics in our discard pile. Typically they don't play any GXs, so I'm just going to throw the Friend Balls away. The good thing about Friend Ball is they're insta-play cards. We won't get punished for playing items in this matchup, so we'll just toss these to thin the deck. I'm going to put the Escape Board over here. Want to get a manual attachment in. And we're going to Cynthia. Try and hit an energy plus a Ball Search card to discard. Well, no Ball Search, but this Acrobite could be clutch. If it's Psychic Energy plus Malamar. It's not those. I'm going to grab Guzma to try and target some of their main attackers for next turn. And looks like we're filching again. Not the best start from us. Looks like the Let Loose hurt us more than them. That's kind of the risk you take sometimes. But it is also amazing that we've only hit 1 Ultra Ball and 1 Treasure so far. It's normally the case that we'll find a lot of those. They do have their Swampert up and running, which is kind of threatening. They're going to get an attachment onto Piplup, and no rare candies is a good thing, so we can start trying to Grinch the Piplups, I guess. It's probably our play. We can't one-hit KO the Swampert with anything on the board. We pick up a Malamar, and actually drawing an Ultra Ball is excellent for us. It's going to give us some options to attach to all of our dudes. We're going to do this. I'm going to do this. So I think the plan is to YOLO Swaggins a KO on the Piplup, go behind in prizes with his first Empoleon, and then we're going to try and find a Marshadow next turn, copy our GX attack Moon's Eclipse to respond on that Empoleon, and then he's going to be like his setup will be pretty weak from there, I imagine. I'm going to keep the other energy in the discard pile. I don't think we need it right now. Holding the Escape Board is absolutely fine. So let's go for a Dark Flash. Try and put the pressure on him. Force them to find Aqua Patch, attach, Rare Candy, Empoleon, switch card for the Alolan Vulpix. Oh, wow. Okay. If he doesn't play switch card, he might have a means of moving the energy active, like E-Switch. They're going to Rescue Stretcher, Piplup. Straight back to the hand, back onto the board. Rare Candy. Here comes Empoleon. Oh, it's Counter Energy. That works too, huh? Aqua Patch also to the bench. So the dream is that we find a way to draw Marshadow here. Definitely what we're going to look for this turn. Let's roll the Cynthia. How much is 20 times each bench Pokemon? So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So we're already getting a KO with Mimikyu if we miss. So not a concern if we do. We do hit the Marshadow-GX, and I feel like it's a pretty good turn to use our GX attack here. Our alternative is to KO the Mimikyu. KO with Mimikyu now. Expect to get returned and then do it later. What's the benefits of not doing it now? Benefits of not doing it now is that we can try and remain a little bit more non-GXy, because he could still get a Guzma KO on the Lele and then just the Marshadow can lose us the game. So potentially, I think it's just going to be something that I hold for now. And we'll just get out. We'll just thin a little bit more. I think I just want to have the option for other stuff. Don't think we need any other Malamars. If he's not dealing with the Mimikyu, we'll keep the energy on the board, so we don't need any of these cards. I think I'm just more so thinning for the Lily for next turn. Yeah, I don't need any of these cards. I don't want to Lily into them particularly either, so we'll just copy the old total command. Do I want to get any attachment in to play around anything? No. No, we'll just deal with the Empoleon. Square out the price trade for now. We still have the option of using Moon's Eclipse later. Like, Moon's Eclipse is better next turn if he doesn't go for a Guzma KO on the Lele. If he Guzma KOs Lele, 14 at the moment is the damage, 16 with his Nest Ball. We'll see how this goes. If he gets a second Swampert up, he's going to be drawing a lot of cards and being dangerous. He did just discard a Choice Band, though. Going to attach an Aqua Patch. It's all going on. Oh, it looks like he's setting up multiple Piplups rather than attacking with any particular one. Double Tails on the Timer Balls, not bad for us. He's going to go Prinplup. Cynthia. This has all worked out pretty well for us. And it's going to be a Beacon, so he's had a slow turn tempo-wise. We need to find a Stretcher this turn so we can attack with the Deoxys. That's going to be the best thing that we can do here. Haha, we did it. Let's grab ourselves Deoxys. See some squidding. And I got to debate if I want to KO a Prinplup here or do I want to KO a Mudkip. It's actually close. I think it's got to be the Prinplup, but there is a debate to being the Mudkip. The only reason I'll deal with Prinplup is because then he has to focus his candies on the Piplups anyway. So the Mudkip then doesn't become a threat. So we'll go for this line. I think it makes the most sense. Take the KO here. We're still definitely not out of this game, or he's definitely not out of this game by any means, even with a slower turn, because we have a GX on the board, he can catch up on us. We're going to see the Nest Ball, getting more Mudkips. It's interesting that we haven't seen any Brooklet Hills just yet. There's a Prinplup. How badly are they whiffing on candies? My goodness. They're going to Kukui for some more cards. They do attach again to Piplup. And just another Beacon. That is really sad news for them. They're grabbing an Empoleon. So we draw into an Inkay. We'll just Lily for 2 here. Hope to hit a Psychic Energy. No luck there, so it looks like we're going to have to... Wow, I mean, we actually can't take a knockout this turn. That is incredible. All of our attackers too reactive right now. Okay, looks like we'll just promote the Mimikyu. Recharge the Deoxys. We have the Stretcher for the Mimikyu anyway. So our opponent's getting a real let-off here that we can't press him down any further. We could Beacon or Filch. I think we'd rather just draw into Psychic Energies, so we'll Filch. So here finally comes a rare candy. All at the bottom of the deck for them. They're actually going for a Swampert, which is pretty crazy. They're going to evolve into an Empoleon. Power draw once. Like, they're running out of options to power draw, so I'm surprised we saw the candy there. Unless he only has access to one other Empoleon. They have 3 cards in deck now, so that's another factor that we need to be aware of. They still have 4 prizes to take. I imagine they're going for the Guzma on the Lele, though. Gonna see an Aqua Patch. Another Aqua Patch. There's the Super Boost Energy, as he has multiple Stage 2s in play now. He's going to gust up that Lele, as promised. Goes ahead and gets the KO. So now's the time where we're going to use our Moon's Eclipse, as long as we can dig into Energy card. We're going to Ultra Ball away these 2. Let's see what we're working with in here. How many energies do we have? 3. Okay. Let's put a Stretcher down. Not a Stretcher, an Escape Board. It doesn't really matter if we have the Marshadow copying the Swampert or copying the thing or not, so I'll keep the Stretcher around just in case he has to take a non-GX KO next turn. And that's Cynthia. We have 12 cards, 3 Psychic Energies in here, and Acrobike anyway, so we should get it. It's going to be rough though. How many Guzmas has he played? Just 1 Guzma. This is going to get real rough. I feel like that turn where we couldn't stop, like we always win if we can carry that Beacon turn. But now that we've had to play another GX down, it's real rough. Marshadow just too squishy. Marshadow-GX. They go into Vulpix. Obviously, they're going to be Guzmaing. They're going to Stretcher for what it's worth. Get back some guys so they don't deck out. Sounds good. They're going to use Power Draw again. There's the Mudkip. There's Pass. I guess passing's the same as... Okay. Well, we just have to run away. And he just needs Guzma, so... there's not too much nuance to this turn. It's just... he probably definitely has Guzma in hand. Because he's played 1. And he has no more cards in deck. So unless he plays exactly 3 and his last 2 prizes are both Guzmas, he's won. Playing all the cards possible before showing me the Guzma. Such BM. Yeah, well played. So, Empoleon and Swampert both have a lot of hit points, 160 apiece. So it does force the GXs out of this deck, which is something to be concerned about. The Deoxys, like the Mimikyu does put a shift in, but he was just biding his time against it, really. So that's something to be aware of. Pretty fun deck, the Empoleon Swampert. I'll have to profile it soon. Look pretty powerful there. You do get to draw a lot of cards when your second Swampert comes online. Let's have another game. I feel like we definitely could have won the game, though, if we could have just KO'd on the turn that he beaconed. So sad. Oh well. Let's lead off with Mimikyu again, shall we? We were also slow in just not finding Malamars. A lot of slowness going on. We filched one too many times and we missed a KO also mid-game, so all that leads to bad news. Ah, we're up against a Buzzwole. We already have one of our Marshadows, and we don't want either of them, so we'll just pull them both out of the deck, use them for free treasure bait, and get a nice Lily going after we find ourselves a couple Inkays here. We don't need those this game. And if we do, we have two stretches. So looks like we only have two Malamars in our deck, which is a little scary. We're going to try and pluck them out of our prizes. Luckily, it's a Psychic Weak deck, so we can take our prizes pretty quickly. It's a nice Ultra Ball. We're going to use it straight away so I can get a manual attachment in on a Pokemon. I think it just wants to be a Deoxys here. Could even be manual to the active, but we play so many escape boards that it's probably not worth it. We'll do this. Next turn we have a Ultra Ball into Lily for another fresh 6, so looking pretty good. They're gonna Choice Band attach and Lily for themselves for 4 cards. They're gonna grab Nest Ball for Diancie. Shrine comes in straight away, obviously. Slugma, Trubbish, so it's all the stuff we expect, really. Friend Ball can actually get us a Malamar now, which is nice. Cheers, friend. And we're going to Ultra Ball. And I'm going to find another Malamar. Nothing to see here, just all the squids. And the joy of having enough non-GXs in this deck is that you can just play as many items as you want and not really have to worry about it. We actually, again, miss a beat here by only having 1 in the discard pile. Pretty rough. Pretty rough. We're just going to have to hit this with a Psychic. It's not a Power Blast KO, which is what we're obviously after here. We miss any form of attachment or discarding. I think I might be tossing the Lily here to just get another Inkay down as well. Just so we're not that in danger. Yeah, we'll just hit the Psychic here. They're going to Rainbow Trubbish. Obviously, we've thrown a bunch in there already. And they're going to play a Judge. We get basically the same hand. They get a Rangaroo to pull themselves out of this mess. But only 1 Trubbish on their board is going to be really good for us. We're just going to Cynthia. No energy again. But we do have Guzma for next turn if we can carry that Trubbish. So it's not a total loss. Let's just take the KO. There's a Psychic Energy. They're going to promote the other Baby Buzz. Maybe this means they have access to Beast Energy this turn or Kukui. Just a Rainbow. Another Baby Buzz comes down. Instruct. Lily. And Sledgehammer. We're just going to attach and KO here. Simple turn, but effective. He, of course, has his Sledgehammer turn, but we don't care about it too much. Because we have 20 hit points left, he can KO us with basically anything. But if he has to waste his Baby Buzz turn, that's good for us too. Basically, at this point, he deals with Deoxys, we stretcher it back. And then we deal with his Garb. And... well, let's see if he puts a Trubbish down this turn. Yeah, he does put a Trubbish down. So we'll still get answered by the Garbs, like an army of Garbs now, but it's still okay. He's going to Kukui. Hasn't attached an energy just yet. They took a risk. They didn't even have energy in hand. That's so dumb. But yeah, the Deoxys just basically hard carry that game. We didn't lead a GX, so there was no issues. Basically, that is how easy it is to beat the Buzz Shrine Garb deck with this. Especially the fact that they weren't playing Weavile by the looks of things, or they didn't have bench space for the Weavile, one of the two. So yeah, feasting on the Shrine decks is pretty fun. We even missed stuff that game, and just, it never looked out of our control. Pretty good at dealing with the Shrine stuff, just being a Deoxys. Let's have one last game here. Flip that coin one more time. Get to go first, which is cool. We're going to have to toss this hand away. Yeah.
All right, yeah, we're going to exercise now.
Okay.
Don't know where Sparkles is she?
I don't know.
Sparkles? Bus, bus, bus.
I'm still recording, you know.
I'm going to give her some tea. What?
I'm still recording.
Oh, sorry.
Crazy cat lady.
Sorry. I didn't realise. Oh.
Okay, right, it's my go. I'm going to play an acro bike. And these are terrible cards to pick up. Let's protect the Guzma, I guess. Let's get rid of these. Grab ourselves Inkay, obviously. It's going to be a Lily for 7 here, which is basically a Sycamore, but we get to keep the Guzma. Sounds like a good deal. Slap our Escape Boards down. I have to be a little concerned about Roadblock. That is somewhat of an annoyance to us. We pick up a Deoxys for the bench. I think I'm just going to attach to him straight away. Pass it there. That's all we need. And we'll discover more about what they're playing. I think we're basically from the offset, you're always hesitant to put down GX Pokemon unless you know what you're up against. And when you just see a Roadblock Sudowoodo, there's a lot of different things it could be. They play Apricorn Maker, so maybe it's the Zoro Rock list that we saw that played Pseudo, possibly. Apricorn typically points to a Zoroark deck, but we'll see. If it is a Zoroark deck, it's pretty rough that we've got Deoxys on the board now, especially because Roadblock's here. So knocking out the Roadblock is going to be actually good for us. But also we can Guzma KO as Zoro, which will be equally useful. Yep, that's looks like what it's going to be. Double nest ball, grabbing some Zoruas. Ah, one Zoro and one Shop It. That's pretty all in. If they don't have any other Zoruas. We're going to be able to... Wow, he even committed the choice band for some reason. Well, okay then. Let's go ahead and get Deoxys going and just stop him drawing cards. That old chestnut. Also take a prize of our own because we need some draw on our end because we've just drawn a bunch of Pokemon. And not the Inkay kind. So let's send that Zorua to the discard pile, pick up another Marshadow off the prizes. Not bad, it's just that we need a hand to work with here. We really don't want to see somehow a Banette KOing a Malamar. Even attacking and KOing the Deoxys is going to be a problem. Only one supporter in his discard pile so far though. And if Zoroark is his main means of discarding supporters, then we're going to be okay. If he has random Ultra Ball for 2 supporters, he's going to be in luck, but otherwise we're probably taking this hit. They're just going to copycat for 5, which sounds pretty weak. And yeah, it's going to be a Shadow Chant for 80? 100. Oh yeah, it does the 10, it does the 30 base. Okay, we rip an Acrobike, which we'll try and slam and get something out of it. Well, we get a... It's not great for us. It's not great. We had the option to Power Blast. Like, I could have discarded the Malamar and had a Power Blast. But I feel like I want to just be powering something up. We actually had the option to do both, to be honest. Maybe I am just Guzma KOing the pseudo here to keep up with the race. I just want to keep taking a prize. Yeah, let's do this. Zoro Mallies have such a high chance of just having healing. Even though they'd probably just go into like a Lele and smack, but that's enough to deal with this Deoxys. So I'd rather guarantee the prize, open up the bench a bit more. Be as aggressive as possible. Sounds best here. So let's just do Power Blast. It's amazing that our hand is just Pokemon. Another energy. They go back to Banette. How much is our own Shadow Chant going to be doing? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 80 with a Mimikyu. They're going to play Judge though, which actually bails us out quite a bit. And also puts him in dire straits as well. Without any Zoroarks in play, that's a real scary thing to do. We don't do too badly off it either. They're going to Shady Move, 1 counter onto the Malamar. Why not? He's taking a KO anyway. And he finally takes the prize. Still no Zoruas comes down for him though, so it's been awkward so far. We're going to do the free retreating Deoxys. We get into some good shape here. Picking up a Stretcher isn't too big of a deal. Our only attackers that attack for 2 energy are the Deoxys, so we actually don't really want to commit energy to many places here. We don't really want to put this down, because it allows him to have a Guzma back into this game. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 to 160. It actually doesn't kill us, so he would have to have like Guzma and again an Ultra Ball. And we know he isn't holding Ultra Ball because he would have played Ultra Ball. So we'll actually do this. It's a small risk, but I think it has a lot of payoff potential here. We have Friend Ball to help us out. Grab a Malamar. And I think I want to grab a Mimikyu, I think. I might hold on it though. I actually shouldn't have friend balled this turn at all, because I was thinking about the Bennett like going somewhere, but it ain't going anywhere. We'll just. Do I want to keep this active? Yeah, we'll keep this active. We've got the backup escape board if he just plays blower. I'd rather keep Inkays around than Deoxys. It's looking okay though. It's been a weird old game, the fact that we just had nothing but energy. They're just going to be able to Cynthia here. Really hoping that they can start finding some Zoruas, I guess. They've not been doing much all game. There's one. There's two. So they did really well off the Cynthia. That's basically all they could ask for. DC as well. Why not? And they're going to shady move. Okay, that's fine, I guess. Move it to the GX, sure. And they're going to KO this Deoxys. We have the backup escape board in our hand, as I said, so not a problem. We're going to be going down to 2. That Lele's looking like easy pickings. We're going to put down we're going to try to put down a... what's it called? I'm completely blanking on the name. A Marshadow to threaten the Zoroark. So we've got the KO on the Bennett. Now we just want to make the most out of this hand. I'm going to Acrobike. Stretcher isn't going to be helpful. We don't need these Deoxys right now. Do that. Friend Ball. Grab ourselves the Lele. Let's retreat. Evolve. Lele means that we can guarantee that this Ultra Ball gets us a Marshadow. With the Lily drawing us 4. It also puts the Necrozma guaranteed in the discard as well, which is good. So let's get rid of these 2. Get ourselves that Marshadow-GX. And we're going to slap some energy onto it. The 2 that we have on offer. We don't actually have the Guzma in hand right now. So it's not quite the perfect setup here. But it's still a bunch of pressure. And Prismatic Burst gets the job done on this Bennett at the very least. We rip an Ultra Ball off the top, which could get us into Let Loose to try and hit the Guzma. We could do some thinning with Treasure and then Ultra Ball afterwards. We'll see. There's options. That's if the Necrozma gets knocked out, or anything gets knocked out. Yeah, it looks like he was just going out with the whimper there. Didn't really get set up as a Zoroark player, so... That unfortunately can happen with New Age Zoro. He went for the turn 1 Apricorn, but didn't have much of a follow-up after that, and that is the issue of a heavy Apricorn engine. But yeah, that's going to be Rukan's list. We didn't flow perfectly in any of those games, really. There was some issues along the way, so maybe there is things to figure out. Maybe you need to choose a direction for the deck rather than just have this toolbox style of being able to do everything in theory. Because we weren't super consistent at any point in any of our games, really. I think there's times when I'd want an extra energy card. There's times where the friend balls were dead. So there's things to worry about there. There's times when you want different attackers on the board than ones you just happen to lead and stuff like that. So let me know what you guys think about Rukan's list. Congratulations to him again. I know he watches the videos, so hope he enjoyed the profiling of his own deck. And yeah, let me know what you think about Malamar going into Frankfurt. Seems to be a powerful contender. Not too concerned about Weavile, even though it is a fully ability-focused deck, because it's so non-GXy on its own end. Deals with the Shrine stuff really excellently, and has Let Loose and comeback potential with Dawn Wings against the Ray. That's covering a lot of matchups, so just on paper, Malamar has the answers for whatever you're up against, so that is something to be aware of. So hope you did enjoy this video, guys, and I'll see you guys soon.